All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here on this Wednesday morning. Hope everybody made some money last night. It was Taco Tuesday. A couple of tacos ended up being pretty tasty. The late night one, Chris Paul, ended up coming through. But those of you who voted on Joel Embiid, and especially those rebounds, shame on you. We got to do better, gang. We got to find a better way to go. I like making good plays into great plays and voting those into the tacos. So Joel Embiid did not get it done on the rebounds. Chris Paul, however, did get it done for us in the late night, dropping dimes. So shout out to Chris Paul. Thanks for saving our night, coming through clutch. Good morning to everybody who's joining me. Obviously, we're here talking some NBA player props. We'll be going over the PrizePicks board this morning, talking points, rebounds, assists, some fantasy scores, some three-point makes, some blocks and steals are up on the board this morning as well. We've got 11 NBA games. Listen, there's only 2 more NBA slates, and then the NBA goes on a little bit of a break, a little bit of a hiatus, right? We got tonight, we got tomorrow, and then we don't get basketball for a number of days, several days without basketball. We do have the All-Star break. We got the All-Star game to look forward to. I heard from a little bird somewhere up in the PrizePicks ranks that we'll be getting some All-Star game props. So it won't be completely without basketball. We will have some basketball props to look forward to. All-Star game props will be coming from what I've been told. So shout out to everybody who's up in the stream this morning. We had another pretty good night last night in the community. So a lot of wins. I think now we're up to 2 or 3 $5,000 winners. That's the $500 Super Bowl free promo Road to 56 thing. People are using their $500 5-pick entry, and we've had a couple of people hit for $5 grand already. So shout out to those who have already used their $500 5-pick free entry, and those who cashed in on it. $5,000 in promo credits. Listen, some of y'all are scoffing at the fact that it's promo credits, but $5,000 in promo credits goes a long freaking way, especially if you can multiply that. If you could hit for 2x, all the way up to 10x. I mean, listen, you could flip that money and make it into more money. A lot of potential there if you win that $5,000. Some of you even won the $1,000 prize, going 4 out of 5 on your 5-pick $500 entry. Shout out to you guys as well. $1,000. I mean, who wouldn't want that just for participating in 7 days of challenges, right? So, yeah, a lot of wins over the last couple of nights, I should say. Not couple of games. Last couple of nights throughout the community. So shout out to everybody who's been participating, who's been active in the community, helping each other win. That's what it's all about. We're all on the same team trying to get these dubs on PrizePicks every single night. So thank you to everybody who's joining me. Desmond's in the building. He says, let's get to it and finish strong, almost to All-Star weekend for a much needed break. I think everybody's kind of like, NBA fatigue, man. It's a daily grind, day after day after day. Even for me. I mean, I got to get on camera here. I got to talk to you guys. I got to hold it down for the community. I got to put on for you guys. So, everybody's looking forward to the break. The players, us as PrizePicks players, me as a content creator, community manager, I guess you could say. So we're all looking forward to a little bit of much earned, much needed time off away from basketball. So let's go through the chat real quick and then we'll get started. We got a lot of games to talk about, a lot of teams, a lot of props to get to. So let's get to business here. Big Wild Man, shout out to you. But what's good today, CJ? Good morning to all the players in the building. I hear you, Big Wild Man. Kyle, Ant killed my boards. Let's get some bread today, CJ. Love that. Todd, live for Sundays. It is curry time. Usually play 3 to 4 a day and went 18 and 5 last week with help from this show. Let's do it again. Well, I'm glad that the show's helping. Winning day for Pullen yesterday. Love to hear it. Everyday Fantasy says, good morning, everybody. This Patreon gang has really taught me the difference between winning and profiting. This is by far the best Patreon I know. Thanks. And let's keep up the great work, guys. Man, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you're finding value. I'm glad that the Patreon group is beneficial to you. I'm glad that it's making you a better player. I'm glad that you're seeing more wins. Let's just keep it going, man. Let's just keep the momentum going. Mark H says, good morning. Shout out to Mark H. He took some notes from yesterday's Discord stages that we hosted. Appreciate you taking those notes back-to-back days, my friend. That really helps me out. It really helps the community out. So thank you for doing your part, brother. Can't do it without you. Tony says, good morning, CJ. Let's go. Great night overall last night. The picks as a group. He's another one of our Patreon members. Shout out to you, Tony. Ronald's Green, what's up? Super solid, always consistent, always reliable with the what's up every single morning. Chris Smith says he did pretty good last night. Could have been better, but let's get back at it today. Killing the tennis props. Whew, I don't know nothing about no tennis. I gotta be honest with you. Don't know nothing about no tennis. King United's already flexing. He had some Jared Allen over 13.5 points. Drew Bree says, what's up, CJ? Love the Patreon prop talk last night. It helps out tremendously. I'm glad that you're enjoying it and finding value in that. I'd like to keep doing them as often as I can, as much as I can possibly do them. I will continue to do them as long as community members, Patreon members like you decide to show up. We got to get you hopping on the mic, Drew Brees. We got to get you on the mic, my friend. David says, good morning. Let's get it. David had himself a great night last night. Nick Guthrie says he won 15 units last night. Thanks to the Patreon community. Let's get a repeat. Smash the like, subscribe, tell your friends, and let's make some money. Love that. Love that. Jeremy, dude, killed it last night. Chaz says, good morning, CJ. I want to say thanks to you and the Patreon. Money been jumping this month. Love to hear it. I love to hear it. Magic, good morning to you. Patreon gang absolutely feasted last night. Even with the Embiid taco selling, still was a profitable night. Brother, I love to hear that, man. That's what I love to hear. That's why I do what I do. I want to help as many people as I can. Aaron Rodgers is in the building, as always. Nice to see you. Accolade, nice to see you as well. Oh, Landon's in here. Went 5 for 5 last night. Shout out to Landon. Nice hit for you. The 9 Ether God says, yeah, the Joel Embiid taco sold. We got to be more selective on them tacos, gang. King Chris, shout out to you. Love to see it. Rashawn Prather says, what it do, Coach Curry? What's up, my man? What's going on? Leroy, let's go. Smitty, what's up, everybody? Great picks onto the Patreon last night. Let's go back to back. It would actually be like back to back to back, hopefully. 3 nights in a row. Community is so awesome. JC, love to hear it. 44 Bears says, I'm here again, smashing the like. Thank you so much. Taking notes. That's a smart move. Thanks, CJ, in the chat. Let's get a bag or two. Love that. Help Me John says, I can't believe those people scheduled a 10:30 meeting. They know what time it is. Yeah, it's time for us to get down to business and talk about these props. Quepid, shout out to you. Nick, good morning to you. NLMB Eli, let's get this bread today. Love to hear that. Jodinho, what's up, Curry? I love the freshie. Looking kind of fresh, right? Not bad, not bad. Your boy's got some hair. Listen, I got more hair than some of your girlfriends out there. It's sad but true. Some of y'all are laying next to some bald-headed people. Your boy's got more hair than some of your girlfriends out there, right? Mac B, shout out to you. Chris Stevens, I see all you, gang. I see all you. I do not do any CSGO, P. Monterosa, but power of the community, man. We got some sharp CSGO people inside of our Discord community, Discord channel. So, all right, let's get down to business, gang. We got 11 games to talk about. Enough time has been wasted. Starting it off here with the 7 o'clock tip-off time, East Coast. Atlanta Hawks at the Orlando Magic, 229.5 points. We got a 6-point spread in this one in favor of the Hawks. Out for Atlanta is John Collins. So Danilo Gallinari likely to start for Atlanta. Over on the Magic side, nothing real impactful or different about them in terms of their injury news. So loving the total from this game at 229.5, the spread being 6. Hopefully it stays close and competitive. Trae Young had himself a great night last night against Cleveland. Him and Darius Garland were going at it. It was fun to watch. 7:30 p.m., the Washington Wizards at the Indiana Pacers, 225.5 total with a 1-point spread. Indiana, a 1-point favorite at home. Keep an eye out on Rui Hachimura. He is a game-time decision. Still doesn't look like we're going to see Kristaps Porzingis make his Washington Wizards debut just yet. Over on the flip side, the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton's been balling, y'all. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Tyrese Halliburton's been balling. Buddy Hield played really well last night as well. Indiana on a back-to-back. Keep an eye on Malcolm Brogdon. He is a game-time decision. 7:30 p.m. Detroit at Boston, 216-point total, 12.5-point spread in favor of the Celtics. Man, the Celtics put a whooping on Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers. Listen, James Harden can't get his butt into the starting lineup quick enough after what we saw take place last night. Boston, even without Robert Williams, absolutely manhandled Philadelphia. Philadelphia took a big L last night. Anyway, this total 216, not super high, the spread being 12.5. Probably looking at this one as more of a first half only type of play, but keep an eye on both Robert Williams and Marcus Smart. They are both game time decisions tonight. 7:30 p.m. Brooklyn Nets at the New York Knicks, a battle for New York, 217-point total here. 4-point spread in favor of the home team, the New York Knicks. No Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, or Ben Simmons. So it's going to be sort of the small ball skeleton crew. You're going to have Patty Mills and Seth Curry in the backcourt. Seth Curry had himself a good Brooklyn Nets debut, as did Bruce Brown. Not a debut, but he had himself a good game. Andre Drummond will be manning the middle. They got a pretty formidable team when they're at 100%. I'm looking forward to seeing all those guys back out on the court for Brooklyn and see what they got. New York on the other side, R.J. Barrett, Derrick Rose, Nerlens Noel already ruled out. So it'll be Kemba Walker, Quentin Grimes, most likely manning the backcourt. So decent total on this one, 4-point spread. I think full game props definitely in play here. 8 p.m. brings us the Toronto Raptors at the Minnesota Timberwolves, 229.5 points. Minnesota ended up going into overtime against the Charlotte Hornets. Karl Anthony Towns had himself a good night. This game has a 1-point spread in favor of the road team, the visiting team, the Toronto Raptors. Keep an eye on Fred VanVleet. Game time decision at the moment. Anthony Edwards on the other side, also a game time decision. So two potentially major pieces of injury news to keep your eyes peeled for. 8 p.m. San Antonio Spurs at the Oklahoma City Thunder. We got 218 points on the board here. 7.5-point favorites are the road team, the San Antonio Spurs. Keep an eye on Jones. He's a game time decision. A lot of people sitting out for OKC, most notably SGA and Lou Dort. It's going to be the Josh Giddey show from here on out. Josh Giddey been playing some fantastic basketball. Pretty much the lead player, the number one guy for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Going on down to the next game, 8 p.m. Sacramento Kings at the Chicago Bulls. Nice total here, 232.5 points with a 5.5-point spread. Jeremy Lamb for Sacramento, game time decision. Over on the Chicago Bulls side, we got Green as a game time decision. They're still without 3 of their key pieces in the backcourt. No Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and the big one, Zach LaVine. So it's going to be DeMar DeRozan time once again. His numbers, his props just keep going higher and higher and higher. At some point, it's just going to be too high for me to feel comfortable. But love the total. Love the fact that this game is just 5.5-point spread. Hopefully it stays close and competitive if you plan on taking the overs from that game. 8 p.m. Eastern time, we got the Portland Trail Blazers at the Memphis Grizzlies, 227 points in this one. 11.5-point spread in favor of the home team, the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant ended up sitting out last night. I took some Desmond Bane. It was Desmond Payne. Desmond Bane did not play well last night. Did not have a good night from beyond the arc. That's what I ended up taking. The over on his 2.5 3-point makes. Whew. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle. Desmond Bane let me down. That's all right. Short-term memory. We got to move on to the next game. And hopefully he plays a little bit better tonight if Ja Morant is out. For Portland, no Damian Lillard. Obviously, Joe Ingles is out for the season. Nas Little, I think, is out for the season. Eric Bledsoe has yet to make his debut for Portland. So it'll be Anthony Simons, Josh Hart. They've been playing pretty well in the backcourt. And, of course, our guy, big Yusuf Nurkic, manning the middle. I love me some Yusuf Nurkic. 9 p.m. Houston Rockets at the Phoenix Suns, 234-point total, but a 15.5-point spread in favor of the Phoenix Suns. So please be careful with this game. It is most definitely going to blow out according to what we're seeing here on the spread provided by Vegas. So if you're going to take anybody from this game, you might want to get them in a first half only. I'm talking about overs, of course. You could potentially look at some players as an under option in a full game format if this game does end up blowing out and getting out of hand. 10 p.m. Utah Jazz at the Los Angeles Lakers. Feels like it's been a while since we've seen the Lakers play. Maybe it's just me, but 226.5-point total here, 5.5-point spread in favor of the Utah Jazz. So liking the total, liking the spread. I think full game play is definitely doable. No Rudy Gay for Utah. Over on the other side, LeBron James, game time decision. Carmelo Anthony is out. Avery Bradley is out. And still no Kendrick Nunn. He is out as well. Moving it down to the final game of the slate, 10 p.m. Denver Nuggets, Golden State Warriors. 224.5 points on this one. 5.5 point spread. We've got some major star power. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins. Over on the other side, obviously, Nikola Jokic. So it will be a very fun game to watch, more than likely. Monty Morris, game time decision. I think he ended up missing the last game. They're saying that maybe Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. could make their return before the end of the year for Denver. So we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe they become available around playoff time. Pending Denver is a playoff caliber team. We'll just have to see how things play out. Otherwise, over on the Golden State side, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, James Wiseman, all out. All out. So there you go. That's your 11 games. 11 games right there in a nutshell. What do you guys think? Pretty crazy schedule. We got some pretty big blowouts, potentially. Some major blowout potential games. Those blowout games obviously being Phoenix, 15.5 point favorites. Memphis, 11.5 point favorites. What was the other one that was pretty wild? There was another one up here. Yeah, Boston, 12.5 point favorites. So there's going to be some games that you might want to be careful in terms of playing full game. You might want to just take those in first half only. All right, so let's do our thing. Appreciate everybody joining me. Hit that like button if you haven't yet. Let's get the party started here. We're going to be starting things off by looking at the points props over on PrizePicks. That's right. That's a lot of P's. We're pushing P on PrizePicks. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, my favorite way to play daily fantasy sports, my favorite site to play player props, use promo code Curry. You'll get a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit, all the way up to $100, making your first entry on PrizePicks risk-free on the house, however you want to say it. All right, link down in the description below if you want to get started today. So looking at the last 10 games, we're looking at the hit rates, the players who have been covering their player props at a high clip. The first guy that stands out to me, Sacramento Kings swingman, Harrison Barnes. Now I know Harrison Barnes left a lot of y'all feeling some type of way. But maybe this is a bounce back spot for Harrison Barnes. He's at 15.5 points. We know that he had been covering at a pretty high hit rate in previous games. The last 10 games, in fact, 80% hit rate. We look at the last 5, 4 out of 5, also an 80% hit rate. Going up against the Chicago Bulls tonight, we know the total is going to be very high. We know that the spread is going to be hopefully close and competitive. So let's go look at the matchup here for Harrison Barnes. Obviously, Sacramento, they got a lot of new faces. They got a lot of new pieces in their lineup. Domantas Sabonis is there. Justin Holiday is there. They got Dante DiVincenzo coming off the bench. So things are changing, right? Tyrese Halliburton no longer in the lineup. Buddy Hield no longer on the team. So a lot of different moving parts and pieces. I think they're still trying to figure things out. Marvin Bagley, another guy who's no longer there. Anyway, I digress. You get the point. Lots of things shaking up here. So Harrison Barnes against the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls are giving up over 24, nearly 25 points per game over the last 7 games. That is the 5th most according to Fantasy Pros and their DVP, defense versus position charts. So in terms of matchup here, doesn't get much better. They're going up. He is going up against a team that is giving up the top 5 most points to opposing small forwards. He needs 16. They're giving up about 25 per game. So we're really not afraid of the matchup. We're really not concerned with the matchup in any kind of way. So in terms of the projections for Harrison Barnes, I got him projected for 17.4. 17.4 points. We're seeing him at 15.5 on 4 different sites, 4 different sports books. So at 15.5, the betting public also feeling like maybe this is a good matchup. Maybe this is a bounce back spot for Harrison Barnes. -120, -118 on most sports books. So they are taking the over on Harry, my man, Harry Barnes. So he could be worth a look tonight. Saddiq Bey is another guy at 16.5 points in the last 10 games. He is covered in 8 out of 10. So we love those 80% hit rates. That's why we're talking about him. We got to at least, give him a look, give him a shot at 16.5. We are worried about this game blowing out potentially. It's looking like a pretty big spread in favor of the Boston Celtics, 12.5 points at this time, but 16.5 has been good to Saddiq Bey. He's covered this in his last 10 games in 80% or 8 out of 10. We look at the last 5, also 80% or 4 out of 5. He's averaging 18.6 points per game. So the real question is, do you think he still gets his even in a potential blowout situation? Could be tough, but let's go look at the matchup here. Boston, a really good team. They're giving up about 19.5 points per game over the last 7 games to opposing small forwards. Now that sounds like a lot of points for a guy who needs 17, but if you look at where they rank, that puts them as the 10th most stingy in the points category to the small forward position. So Saddiq Bey, not exactly the easiest matchup tonight against the Boston Celtics. Let's move it on over here. Get you a projection for Saddiq Bey. Got him going for about 16.4 points. The good news here, we are getting a little bit of value. PrizePicks has put him up at a friendly line of 16.5. We're seeing him at 17.5 on a number of different books, though. So the fact that some lines makers on some of these sports books think that 17 to 18 points is possible here for Saddiq Bey should make us feel pretty good here about taking an over at 16.5. But I will say this, at 16.5, we are not seeing any action. Nobody's taking the over just yet. Maybe it's still a little bit too early, but I think Saddiq Bey is definitely worth talking about because of the 80% hit rates in the last 10 games. So if you wanted to play him in a first half only, you could do that. What's up to Sed? Good morning to you as well. Thanks for joining me, Sed. You're always up in the building. Taking a look at some of these other guys who have been covering their points props at a pretty high hit rate. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 other guys here who are hitting not at 80%, but at 70%. A 70% hit rate, still very, very good. Still worth talking about. Absolutely. So let's go find Mike Conley Jr. Come on down. You're the next contestant on the props. All right. Mike Conley at 12.5 points. Last 10 games, 7 out of 10. A 70% hit rate. We look at the last 5, 3 out of 5. Still pretty good at 60%, but the numbers are starting to slide a little bit for Conley. He struggled in back-to-back games against 2 teams where he probably should have played a little bit better. I think we expected more out of Conley against Orlando. Not a very good team. Houston, definitely not a good team. So I'm a little bit cautious here with Mike Conley, seeing the last 2 games, him struggling in those games. But at some point, the guy's got to bounce back, right? And we know the Los Angeles Lakers are not a team defensively who have been historically very good this season against opposing point guards and shooting guards. Their backcourt, not really not a backcourt that we fear, so to speak. So let's go look at the matchup here. We're looking at point guards, last 7 games. The Los Angeles Lakers are giving up 25.9 points per game. Let's just call it 26 points per game. And you can kind of see here, that is the 5th most points allowed for opposing point guards. Hey, Landon, thank you for the message. I see what you're saying there. You're asking if Fox is a lock. Well, nothing's ever a lock. I have to start by saying nothing is ever a lock. So, no, Fox is not a lock. Nothing's a lock. But I will definitely look into De'Aaron Fox. You got to let me know, though, like, what is it about Fox that you're liking? Are you liking his points, his fantasy points? Like, you got to be a little more specific. Let me know what it is that you're liking about Fox, which player prop or category you're wanting to consider. But I will definitely look into that for you toward the end. Okay, points. All right, we'll talk about his points before I move on to assists and rebounds and all that. We'll look at Fox points. Cool. Anyway, Mike Conley in a very good spot against the Los Angeles Lakers. They are giving up the 5th most points to opposing point guards. He has struggled in back-to-back games. Do we think he struggles for a 3rd game? I don't know. Maybe this is a buy low situation on Mike Conley in a very good spot against the Lakers. Anyway, let's go get you a projection on Conley. Is Conley going to be a con man, or is he actually going to get the job done for you tonight if you take the over on 12.5? Well, I can tell you this. He's projected for nearly 15 points tonight, and the public is eating this one up. They are taking the over at 12.5 points on every single sports book out there, as high as minus 130 betting favorite to go over. So maybe this is a good spot for Mike Conley Jr. Hopefully he finally gets right. I mean, 8 points against Orlando, 2 against Houston, 2 games where he's gone below 12.5 points. But we look at the bigger picture, the last 10 games, 70% hit rate. You got to imagine that at some point, Mike Conley's going to get right. And this would be as good of a spot as any for Mike Conley to finally turn things around. We talked about some other guys here who have been getting the job done in the last 10 games. 70% hit rate for Kevon Looney at 6.5 points. We're getting him at 6 today over on PrizePicks. You can kind of see his holding pattern here. He's gone over, then under, then over, then under, then over. Maybe he goes under tonight, and then maybe he goes over again. But anyway, you get the point. It's been kind of a up and down type of thing for Kevon Looney. He's going up against Nikola Jokic tonight. Maybe he gets into some foul trouble or something against Joker. Don't know that I love this one all that much. Jokic, one of the best centers in the NBA. Let's go take a look and see how many points per game Denver's been giving up to the center position. They're kind of like middle of the pack, giving up about 22, 23 points per game. So not overly easy, not overly difficult, kind of just an average matchup for Kevon Looney. So we're going to go take a look at his projections. I got Looney going for about 7.1 points, which is more than 6. But at 6.5 points, we got him on 3 different sites here. Big betting favorite to go under. The public not liking Kevon Looney and his chances of getting 7 or more points. Minus 140, minus 135, betting favorite to go under at 6.5, which is why we're getting him at 6. But maybe we take a shot, and at worst, we end up pushing, and he lands on exactly 6 points. So who else do we have? De'Aaron Fox. That was the one that our boy just went ahead and left for us. So we're going to take a look at that one for you right now. And De'Aaron Fox over the last 10 games has done a good job with 23.5 points, 7 out of 10, a 70% hit rate over the last 10 games. Obviously, Halliburton's out of the way. Now it's De'Aaron Fox running the show here in the backcourt, and he gets a pretty easy matchup, I would say, against Chicago, who's missing 3 very big key pieces in their backcourt. We talked about it already. Lonzo Ball not in there. Alex Caruso not in there. And obviously Zach LaVine, the biggest one, not in there as well. So it's going to be De'Aaron Fox against the likes of Kobe White, Dosunmu. Not really worried about either one of those guys. Anyway, you look at the game logs here for De'Aaron Fox. 5 straight games of covering 23.5 points, averaging 27 points per game in that 5-game span. So I could definitely see a path to success for De'Aaron Fox tonight. Let's go to the point guard position. We're going to go take a look at the Bulls. You see how many points they're giving up to opposing point guards in the last 7 games, the 4th most at about 27 points per game. So yes, De'Aaron Fox in a very good spot against a team that is just giving away points to the point guard position. Both him and Harrison Barnes have a very good shot, I think, tonight of getting their points props done. In fact, if you wanted to play De'Aaron Fox in terms of fantasy points, also worth mentioning, Chicago is giving up over 55 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards, which happens to be the 5th most in the last 7 games as well. So De'Aaron Fox definitely in play here tonight. I think he is worth a look for sure. Let's pull up our projection. We got Fox projected for about 23.1 points. Now, surprisingly, we're seeing some mixed signals out on the different sports betting sites. We got 4 different books out there. On one of them, betting favorite to go under. On another one, they're taking the over. Another one's taking the under. And then finally, a 4th one taking the under. So 3 out of 4, the public taking the under on De'Aaron Fox. At least one site, though, we're seeing somebody take the over on him. But the matchup is really good against Chicago. Obviously, his hit rates have been fantastic. Good game total. Spread looks like it's going to stay pretty close and competitive, hopefully. So I don't mind you taking a shot on that particular one. And finally, the last guy we're going to talk about, Nikola Vucevic, from the other side of this game. Guy's been getting it done in terms of scoring points. Last 10 games at 22.5 points. Vooch has covered in 7 out of 10, a 70% hit rate. So last 3 games especially, 26, 31, and 25. And you think about who Sacramento has on the other side. It's Domantas Sabonis, most likely going to draw the matchup here for Nikola Vucevic. Domantas Sabonis is not a lockdown defender, gang. He is not somebody that we should be fading bigs against. Hey, there he is, Domantas Sabonis. Yeah, anyway, we're not worried about Domantas Sabonis in any kind of way, so I don't mind you playing some Nikola Vucevic tonight. Let's go look at the matchup. Obviously, these numbers are going to be a little bit skewed. They had a little different group cast of characters, so to speak. They had the likes of, Tristan Thompson, Marvin Bagley. Those guys are no longer on the team. Rashawn Holmes. Now it's Sabonis at the power forward, or at the center spot. They got Mo Harkless, Harrison Barnes starting at the forward spot. So yeah, nobody that really puts fear into my heart when it comes to Nikola Vucevic. But anyway, Sacramento, last 7 games, giving up the 3rd most points to the center position. Over 29 points per game allowed, nearly 28 in fact. So I definitely see some upside for Vucevic. And if you wanted to play his fantasy points, gang, those are also in play. Sacramento giving up the 5th most fantasy points per game to opposing centers as well. Over 62 fantasy points allowed. So Vuce is in play for points. He's also in play for fantasy points. Let's get you a projection on Nikola Vucevic. They got him going for 20.5 points, which is a little less than the 22.5. But at 22.5, we're seeing him out there on 4 different sites. At least 3 out of 4 sites, the betting public liking the over on Nikola Vucevic. And it's hard not to like the over here. Like I said, nobody over on the Sacramento side really scares me or worries me in terms of shutting Vucevic down. So there you go. Those are your top point hitters here in the last 10 games. Just a quick recap for you. Harrison Barnes, 15.5 points, 80%. Saddiq Bey, 16.5 points, 80%. Mike Conley, 12.5 points, 70% hit rate for him. Kevon Looney, 6.5 points, 70% hit rate for him. De'Aaron Fox, Nikola Vucevic at 70% as well. So there's some very high hit rate point scorers who are in very good spots. Fox, one of the ones. Nikola Vucevic, one of the ones that stands out to me. Mike Conley, although he's been struggling, the matchup looks very nice on paper. And then, of course, Harrison Barnes, who struggled last game but could be in a bounce-back spot. So those are your point props that are looking good in terms of hit rates. We got to kind of filter it down somehow. So I do that by looking at the hit rates and trying to find guys who've been getting the job done. So now that we talk points, let's talk about some rebounds. A swig of water for the working man here. Let's see who's been pulling down the most rebounds at the highest hit rate. Well, we just talked about Mike Conley for points. Now, Mike Conley at 2.5 rebounds actually has a pretty stinking high hit rate. 2.5 boards, he has pulled down 3 or more in 9 out of 10, a 90% hit rate. He is not up on the PrizePicks board, but if you can get him somewhere else, you might want to look into that one a little bit further. Another guy that we talked about for points, who is also popping up in terms of rebounds, is Harrison Barnes, because in his last 10 games at 5.5 boards, a 70% hit rate for Harrison Barnes. Now, I'm not seeing him up on the board either. Yeah, they might be playing keep away with Harrison Barnes and his rebounds. Not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board. Vucevic, another guy we talked about for points. His rebounds have also been good at 12.5 rebounds, 70% hit rate for Vucevic. And I think he's in another great spot. Is he also not on the board? Yeah, he is up on the board, actually. He's up there at 13 rebounds today. So Vucevic has had his line bump from 12.5 to 13, but 12.5 last 10 games, 70% hit rate. We look at the last 5 for Vooch. 3 out of 5, 60% hit rate. Still not bad. Not bad at all. 12, 15, 8, 15, and 16, respectively. He's averaging 13.2. He gets another really good matchup tonight against the Sacramento Kings. So let's go see how many rebounds Sacramento has been giving up to opposing centers. We got to go down a little ways, but they're giving up over 14 boards per game. So for me, if I'm looking to play Vucevic, I think his points look like the better matchup, or just go with his fantasy points. For me, those are probably the better 2 ways to go. But rebounds could also be in play here. I just think 13, you're starting to get a little bit steep, a little bit high for me. But anyway, let's pull a projection up. Got Vucevic projected for 13.1 boards, not 12.5. The betting public snatching this one up, minus 140, minus 130 betting favorite to go over. So Vucevic is in a very good spot tonight across the board. Other props that we could probably consider in terms of high hitters, 70% hit rates. Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz. At 4.5 rebounds, he has been pulling down boards at a high clip in the last 10 games, 7 out of 10. We look at the last 5 games for Mitchell, 4 out of 5, including 4 straight games with 5 or more boards. He's been killing his prop here lately, 7, 10, 7, and 6 respectively. So definitely been getting on the glass. He's going up against the Lakers tonight. The total on this game looked pretty good. It looks like it's going to be one that's going to stay somewhat close and competitive. So let's just go look at the DVP, the defense versus position. More specifically, how many rebounds the Los Angeles Lakers have been giving up to opposing shooting guards. Last 7 games, they're giving up about 6 boards per game, which kind of puts them right in the middle of the pack. So kind of an average matchup, not a super favorable one, but not one that's overly difficult either, right? Just kind of middle of the road. So he could definitely still get it done. So let's get a projection for you on Donovan Mitchell here. I've got Donovan, the Spider, Mitchell at 4.3 projected rebounds. We're seeing him at 4.5 on 3 different books, but the public taking the under -140, -140, and -125 across 3 different sites. So not seeing a lot of confident bettors out there in the betting public on Donovan Mitchell's rebounds. So let's take a look at some other rebound props. There's one other guy that's on the board today that's been hitting at a pretty high clip, and it's this dude, AG, Aaron Gordon of the Denver Nuggets. He's going up against the Golden State Warriors tonight. Last 10 games for him, 7 for 10. He's gone over 5.5 rebounds in 70% of those 10 games. Now you look at the last 5 here, you're going to see a whole lot of green for Aaron Gordon. He's been pulling down 6 or more rebounds in 5 straight games. In fact, he's averaging 7 rebounds per game in that 5-game span. So pretty good job by Aaron Gordon lately of getting on the glass. So let's go take a look at the matchup here. We know that the Golden State Warriors, they're missing Draymond Green. It'll be Kevon Looney matched up with Nikola Jokic. More than likely, Aaron Gordon will be matched up with somebody like, Andrew Wiggins maybe. Not somebody we're super afraid of when it comes to rebounds or anything like that. So AG, kind of the power forward, we'll say, for Denver, going up against Golden State. The Warriors giving up, let's see here, not bad in terms of the matchup. 10.7 rebounds. So you kind of see where they rank. That is the 7th most rebounds allowed in the last 7 games to the power forward spot. So I would say that Aaron Gordon is definitely in a plus matchup, in a good position here. Let's go get a projection for you on Aaron Gordon. Got him projected for 6 boards. That's obviously more than 5.5, but we are seeing a higher line here on PrizePicks. So he's at 4.5 on most sports books tonight. Now 4.5, the public snatching this one up, -150 odds. So PrizePicks went ahead and took the higher number here on Aaron Gordon's rebounds. They got him bumped up to 5.5. At 5.5, the public taking the under, -150, betting favorite to go under. So last 3 games have been pretty close. He's been getting the job done, but just barely, pulling in again 6 versus Boston, 6 versus Toronto, 6 versus Orlando. So been doing a good job, but the 5.5 number, I wish it was at 4.5. It'd be a insta play for me, but at 5.5, maybe you think a little bit harder before you're locking that one into your entries. All right, gang, so we've talked some points, some rebounds. Now we're going to talk some assists. And while I'm pulling up the assists, give me an assist. And what I mean by that is slap the like button if you can. And we'll get on to talking about the top dime droppers here on PrizePicks. Yeah, Jonathan Kuminga, he'll be starting for Golden State as well. Anyway, looking at the assist guys here in the last 10 games, guys who've been getting the job done. We talked about Saddiq Bey already for some points. His assists have also been really good. Last 10 games, he's been getting 3 or more assists in 8 out of 10. So an 80% hit rate here for Saddiq Bey at 2.5 dimes. So if you're looking to play Saddiq Bey, you got 2 different ways to go. Both of them look like they're pretty decent options. Saddiq Bey needs at least 3 dimes tonight. Last 5 games, 80% hit rate, averaging 3.8, nearly 4 assists per game. So we head on over here to the Fantasy Pros DVP charts. Once again, we're going to go to the assist category. We're going to go find the Boston Celtics. They're giving up about 3 assists per game to opposing small forwards. which isn't the best number in the world. Kind of a difficult matchup. You wish that they were higher up on this list, giving up more assists to small forwards, but, such is life. We can't always get what we want, right? Saddiq Bey, though, in a pretty good spot in terms of his hit rate. So let's go see what his projections are looking like today. I got Bey projected for 2.6 assists, slightly more than 2.5. Obviously, that number is closer to 3 than it is 2. 2 out of the 3 books, we're seeing no action on this prop, but on one book, the public, -125, putting their money on the under for Saddiq Bey in what looks like a difficult game for Detroit against the Boston Celtics. Some other guys who have been getting it done in terms of dropping some dimes. We got to talk Domantas Sabonis because at 5 assists, he's been getting the job done here at 5.5 over the last 10 games, 70% hit rate. Now we look at the last 10 games, 70% hit rate. Last 5 games, he has gone for 5 or more assists in 3 out of 5. So that's a 60% hit rate at 5 or more. Just a 40% hit rate, though, at actually exceeding 5 assists. Now, he goes up against Chicago tonight. We already talked about the total on this game, looking very nice. Lots of points expected to be scored. Hopefully, Domantas Sabonis has a major hand here in dropping some dimes off to some of those points props we were liking, like De'Aaron Fox, like Harrison Barnes. Maybe Sabonis will be the one assisting those guys in scoring some buckets tonight. He is coming off of a bad game against Brooklyn where he had just 2 assists. Maybe this is a get-right spot, a bounce-back spot here for Sabo. Looking at the center position, we're going to go to the assist category. We're going to go find the Chicago Bulls. They're giving up over 5 assists per game to centers in the last 7 games. So that is actually kind of a high number. When you look at it, as far as ranking goes, that is the 8th most. So I think Sabonis in this game script, in this matchup, definitely has a path to at least 5 assists, but possibly more. Being that we like De'Aaron Fox and we like Harrison Barnes in their positions and their matchups, maybe Sabonis again is the guy who's setting those scores up. So as far as the projection goes, I got Domantas Sabonis at 5.5 assists according to Action Labs. Now at 5.5 out on a couple of different sports books, we're seeing the public take the over here. -135 betting favorite to go over at 5.5. So if they like it at 5.5, why wouldn't we like it at 5 assists here on PrizePicks? We're getting a half assist value, which isn't a lot, but it's enough for me to go ahead and lean toward the over. And maybe worst case, we end up in a push situation. But Sabonis is in a very good game tonight. Very fun game. Dave Gutierrez, shout out to you. Thanks for leaving that super chat. You're thinking about taking Raul Neto of the Washington Wizards under for his assist prop. Okay. Under his assist prop. We'll have to take a look at that. Let's go do that right now while it's on our mind here. Raul Neto, 4.5 assists. He's going up against the Indiana Pacers tonight, so he'll most likely be matched up with the likes of Tyrese Halliburton, maybe Malcolm Brogdon if Brogdon ends up playing. But Neto here is at 4.5 assists. And like Dave's kind of pointing out and highlighting here, Neto at 4.5 assists over the last 5 games has gone under in 4 out of 5. So he's actually only got a 20% hit rate in the last 5 games where he's averaging 3.4 dimes. Let's look at the matchup against the Pacers. Not quite sure who's starting yet for Indiana, but I could tell you this. Indiana over the last 7 games is giving up the 5th most assists. So as far as matchup goes, as far as assists allowed by the Indiana Pacers to opposing point guards, it's a really good matchup for Neto. This might not be the spot that we want to go under on Neto today, just due to the fact that they're giving up 10.5, nearly 11 assists per game. Like I said, the 5th most in the last 7. I'm a little concerned with taking the under on him. You could do it, but I wouldn't like power it. Maybe he's a flex type of play for you, just due to the risk. Anyway, let's get you a projection for Neto. My man Dave's liking it. The projections say that Neto will more than likely, according to their models, go for about 3.5 assists. So that could break one of 2 ways. That could be 3 assists or it could be 4 assists. But either which way it breaks, it's less than 4.5. Now at 4.5 dimes out on 2 different books, we're seeing -130 odds to go under But on another site, we're seeing the public take the over at minus 120. So it seems like one of those assists that has definitely some risk to it. I mean, all props, right? All props have a little bit of risk to it. But in this case, the matchup really good for Nato. He's in a plus, a very plus assist spot here. So I don't know that I necessarily want to go there. And if I do, it would be in a flex entry. It would not be in a power entry. So that might be a strategy for you folks going forward. I don't know if some of you guys may not think of it this way, but I know we got a lot of people who like to power this, power that. But if there's ever a pick that you're like kind of on the fence, like you're like, I kind of want to take it, but I don't feel very confident in it, put it in a flex entry instead of a power entry. Don't power picks that you feel are like 50-50 picks or you don't feel completely comfortable on. If you want to play it and you feel like, I really want to lean toward the under on Raul Neto at 4.5 assists, but I know that there's some risk, some danger involved in doing so, then maybe you flex it instead of power it. Other guys who were dropping dimes at a really high hit rate, Steph Curry at 6.5 assists, 70% over his last 10 games, so 7 out of 10. That is obviously a very nice hit rate. I'm not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board just yet, but there he is. My eyes failed me. Yeah, 6.5 assists last 10 games, 70%. Last 5 games, 60%. Coming off of a subpar game against the Clippers, maybe he bounces back against Denver tonight. As you can see over the last 5 games, hasn't had 2 bad games in a row when it comes to dropping dimes. So this could be a get right spot for him. Let's go look at the matchup. Point guards, we're talking assists, and we got to go find the Denver Nuggets. Denver's given up about 8.1 dimes per game. You can kind of see where they rank, middle of the pack. Not overly difficult, not overly easy for Steph Curry. Kind of an average matchup here. So we go to Curry, and we get his projections, not Seth Curry. Don't get confused here. That's Seth Curry above him. Steph Curry below him is at 6.3 projected assists. We got him on 3 different books. Pretty good, strong action coming in. The juice is flowing on the over here at 6.5. Minus 135 on 2 different books. And then a third book, minus 150. Pretty strong juice coming in on the over for Steph Curry at 6.5 dimes. Let's see. There's one other assist prop worth talking about, and how could we not talk about DeJounte Murray? DeJounte Murray. Hey, time out real quick. Time out, gang. Y'all see what I see? I see him. Listen, I see him. I want to help this man. But you know what he's doing, right? We're going to have to put him in timeout for a minute. All right? He's in timeout. He's not blocked. He's just in timeout. He's got to chill out with that, right? Can't be having him doing that, right? Had to put the man in timeout. He's getting a little too horny. Put that thing in ice for a minute. Got to ice your boy. Just relax. You're in timeout now, my friend. You have fun there. DeJounte Murray, 10.5 assists. Last 10 games. 70% hit rate. Gone 7 out of 10. We look at the last 5 games for DeJounte Murray. He's been bumped up to 11 assists on PrizePicks. He's hit 11 or more in 4 out of 5 games. 4 out of 5 games. So that's an 80% hit rate at 11 or more. He's actually only covered 11 assists in 2 out of 5. So 12 and 15 against New Orleans and Atlanta. So let's go take a look at the matchup here for DeJounte Murray. He's going up against OKC, the Thunder. The Thunder from down under. They're giving up about 10.1 dimes per game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th most. So it is a plus matchup for DeJounte Murray, which is probably why the public is taking the over at 10.5, and he's been bumped to 11 over on PrizePicks. So loving the matchup here for Murray. We know that he's been one of the top assist guys here over the last, month, 2 months. At 11 assists, I got him projected for 10.9, which is really close to 11. We can round it up and call it 11. We're seeing him at both 10.5 and 11.5 assists on a couple of different sites. At 10.5, a betting favorite to go over at minus 125. At 11.5, a betting favorite to go under at minus 145. All right. So that's why PrizePicks is kind of taking the middle of the road here with 11. So I'd probably lean toward the over, being that the matchup's looking so good against OKC. But don't be surprised if this thing ends up being a push. He has pushed in 2 out of his last 5 games. So there's always the chance of that. But not a bad way to go. So that's it. Those are your top assist plays. Let's look at some PRA, gang. We're seeing a lot of players with very, very high hit rates today on this huge 11-game NBA slate. So some of these names we've already talked about for points. We've already talked about them for rebounds. So it's only natural that they're going to come up as PRA options for you. The first guy being, you know what, it's just easier to use the search engine here. First guy being Harrison Barnes at 23.5 PRA. At 23.5 PRA, we're getting a little bit of a value here. At 24.5 out on most sports books, he's got an 80% hit rate in the last 10 games. So that is 8 out of 10. We look at how he's done here in the last 5 games at 23.5 PRA. He's covered this in 4 out of 5. So I'm sure Harrison Barnes is going to be another popular option, whether that be points, fantasy points, or PRA. I think people are going to probably try to go back to it in a good spot against Chicago, looking for that bounce back situation. Last 5 games, he has averaged 30.4 points, rebounds, and assists. So if you wanted to go here, I cannot fault you for that. I cannot be mad at you for that. We're going to go find the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls giving up about 25 points per game, like we talked about earlier, to small forwards, about 4 rebounds, so that's like 29 PRA, and about 4 assists, we'll call it. So about 33 PRA for a guy who needs just 23.5. There's absolutely ceiling here for him. There is some upward mobility, in other words, for him to get this done. So let's look at the projection for his points, rebounds, and assists. Harrison Barnes projected for 26.1 PRA. So we love the projections. Those are looking pretty good. 23.5, the betting public going back to Harrison Barnes after the bad game he had against Brooklyn, where he put up just 15 PRA. So they're taking it in the bounce back spot against the Chicago Bulls in what looks like a really good matchup and a really good game script. Another guy that we talked about earlier for a number of different categories, Saddiq Bey. Saddiq Bey's PRA over the last 10 games, 7 out of 10, 70%. Now he's at 24.5 PRA over on props.cash. But for whatever reason, we're getting him at 19.5 PRA right now on PrizePicks. 24.5 versus 19.5. Something's up here. Saddiq Bey, last 5 games, he's covered this in 4 out of 5, an 80% hit rate, averaging 27.8 PRA. So if he's covering 24.5 PRA in the last 10 games at a 70% clip, then at 19.5, I'm sure his hit rates are quite a bit better. Anyway, Saddiq Bey going up against Boston. We know the matchup isn't the easiest, but they are giving up 19.5 points plus 6 rebounds. So that's 25.5 PRA so far. Then you sprinkle in 3 assists on top of that. You're looking at about 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So Saddiq Bey at 19.5, looking kind of juicy here. You guys are saying that it's been changed. Oh boy, they changed it on us. It's not quite as good as it was. Let's look at it. Dang it. Yep, they changed it. It's now 24.5. Wow, 19.5 was an absolute steal. Hopefully some of you got in on him at 19.5. He just got bumped up by 5 PRA. Okay, well, it's not quite as sexy as it was just a minute ago. 24.5, though, like I said, 70%. You see what he's done in the last 5 games, 80%. Still worth looking at, but the real value there was at 19.5. Anyway, got him projected for 25 PRA. You can see on a number of different sites at 24.5. The public still taking the over, minus 125 at 24.5 on 2 different books. So at 19.5, whew, Saddiq Bey, you got yourself a steal if you got him at 19.5. Some other dudes who are showing very high hit rates last 10 games for their PRA, Nikola Vucevic. He's been a guy we've talked about for points. He's been a guy we've talked about for rebounds. So, of course, Vucevic should be also considered for PRA. We even liked him for fantasy points. His PRA is at 39.5. Last 10 games, he's covered this in 7 out of 10. You see what he's done here in the last 5 games, gone 4 straight with more than 39.5 PRA. His average during that span, 39.8, which is slightly higher than his line today at 39.5. So let's go to the center position. Let's go find the Sacramento Kings. We've already talked about them a little bit here. They're giving up nearly 30 points per game to centers, over 14 rebounds. So that's like 44 PRA. Plus you sprinkle in another 4 assists, then you're like 48 PRA. So there's definitely some upside in this matchup for Vucevic in his points, rebounds, and assists. Looking at the projections for him, they got him at like 37.8. Let's just round it up, call it 38 PRA. 38 PRA, not enough to go over 39.5. Definitely cross-reference his points, rebounds, and assist projections on a number of different sites. There's free ones out there. RotoWire, NumberFire, Betting Pros, they all offer free single stat player prop projections. But the Action Labs projection tools, they only have him at 38 PRA. He's at 39.5 out on 2 different books, though. And the public feeling pretty good about Vucevic against the Sacramento Kings tonight. And I can't blame him, like I said, in a pretty nice spot. Another dude that we're going to take a look at is Will Barton, 22.5 PRA. Another guy hitting at a 70% hit rate. Will Barton, last 10 games, has covered 22.5 PRA in 70% of those games, 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. You look at the last 5 games for Will Barton, 3 out of 5, 60% hit rate. So a little bit less of a hit rate in the last 5 versus the last 10. He's going up against Golden State tonight, averaging 24.8 PRA in that span. So that's like 2.3 PRA higher or more in that case. So we go and find the Golden State Warriors. You can see they're giving up just 20 points. Everything is in orange here. So this looks like a tough matchup on paper, but they're giving up about oh, we got to go to the shooting guard position. Excuse me, run that back, scratch that. They're giving up about 23 points, about 6 rebounds. So that's like 29 PRA. Plus we sprinkle in 6 assists on top of that, and you're like 35 PRA for a guy who needs 22.5 or more. So there's definitely some upside against Golden State. Not a matchup that looks overly difficult or overly scary. But Will Barton projected for 25.6 PRA. That is 3.1 PRA higher or more than his line today of 22.5. And then 2 different sites have him going over at minus 120 betting odds. Trey Prince, I appreciate you, saying you're sorry without saying you're sorry. We will definitely look into those picks. Post them one more time, man. I just wanted you to just chill a little bit. Just chill a little bit. Trey Prince says he got Saddiq Bey at 19.5, stacked him with beef stew. Got you. All right. So there you go, guys. There's Trey Prince and his picks for the last time. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe. Anyway, those are your PRA top plays. Harrison Barnes, 80% hit rate. Saddiq Bey's PRA, 70%. Vucevic, 70%. Will Barton, 70%. So those are your highest hitters. So those are good places to start and players that you should definitely look at a little bit closer for PRA. Let's talk about some three-point props. Really big slate today. We're over an hour in already, guys. I'm covering a lot of picks, a lot of plays. I appreciate you guys rocking with me, being patient. We will definitely take some questions here. This is going to probably be a long show. We will definitely take some questions in just a moment. Let's quickly look at some three-point plays, some blocks and steals, but hopefully you're out there taking notes. Hopefully you're seeing some plays that are standing out to you that you're liking, and we're finding some value for you. This dude keeps coming up today, and I can't shake him. Saddiq Bey, another guy, at 2.5 three-point makes, 70% hit rate in the last 10 games. Last 5 games, 80% hit rate. There's like 5 different ways you could play Saddiq Bey today, and all of them look good just based on hit rates alone. Based on hit rates alone. The matchup doesn't look so great. Doesn't look like the greatest matchup against Boston, but Bay's been getting it done, man, across a number of different categories in the last 10 games. Let's go to the small forward position. Let's go to 3-point makes. Boston giving up about 2.7 triples per game to opposing small forwards. Let's go pull up the 3-point shots made by Saddiq Bey. His projection's 2.8. And the public is taking the over, minus 125 betting favorite to go over. So he might be one worth looking at. Christian Wood is another guy who's at 1.5 3-point makes. He's covered his 1.5 3-point make prop in 7 out of 10. So 70% hit rate for him. Justin Holiday is another guy at 1.5 3-point makes. He's covered that prop in 70%. Doug McDermott, not up on the board either. 2.5 3-point makes, 70% for him. And Evan Fournier is another guy at 70% worth considering if they put him up on the board. He's been getting the job done. The rest of these guys are like 60% or lower, so I'm not looking to necessarily go there on any of these guys. So we won't talk about them in depth. Blocks and steals, there's a number of different options up here. Guys, I don't play a lot of blocks and steals, but you know, you could, I guess, maybe go there if you're looking to play some blocks and steals props. As far as the guys that they have up on the board, ones that have been covering their blocks and steals at a pretty high hit rate, not really seeing any that stand out, to be honest with you. No. Yeah, it's kind of like a coin flip on most of these guys, so I won't waste any more time talking about them. All right, gang, that's it for me. If you have any questions for me, if you have any props you want me to look at, leave them, and I will do the best that I can, and I will try to get as many as I can. As many as I can. I saw somebody mention some Steven Adams earlier. What was that about? I forget what the what that prop was. Steven Adams something, but I didn't see what it was. And I see you guys are talking about Steven Adams, but oh, that's right. Accolade Rhyme says Steven Adams first half points. I've been banking for days. Let's talk about that one. We'll start the Q&A portion of today's live stream with Steven Adams and his first half points. He's at 4 today. And as you can see here, 4 points, first half only. Been getting it done. 8, 9, 11, 9, and 10, respectively. And we're going to look at this one a little bit further here on StatMuse. We're going to go Steven Adams, first half points logs. So we know that he's gone 5 for 5, but beyond that, how has he done? He had 2, 5, 2, 0, and 4. So we look at those games 6 through 10 at 4 or more points. He's covered in 1, 2. So he's like 7 out of 10, 70% hit rate. Not bad. I think he's probably worth taking a shot on. Going up against Yusuf Nurkic tonight and the Portland Trail Blazers. I think the Blazers have been getting up quite a few points to centers as well. They have. Over 28.1 points allowed to the center position over the last 7 games. That is the 5th most. So the matchup also looking pretty nice here for Steven Adams. Dropping 8, 9, 11, 9, and 10 respectively. So yeah, Accolade, I do not mind you going here. We could take it a step further and go versus Blazers. And you can see what he's done against Portland this season. He's faced Portland 3 times this season. And in those 3 games, he scored 4, 6, and 11. So technically a 100% hit rate at 4 or more points versus Portland this season. He's exceeded 4 points in 2 out of 3, a 67% hit rate. So yeah, even going back to last season, I mean, he had 4 against Portland there. So really, it's like 4 straight games of 4 or more points versus Portland. So I think this is a good play. I think it's one that we can definitely feel okay about going back to, seeing that he's been getting the job done at a pretty high hit rate. So Accolade, I think Steven Adams over first half points could potentially keep banking for you tonight. Let's see what else you guys are talking about here. Lots of picks coming in, gang. You guys are dropping some gems, some gemstones up in here. Trying to sort through it all here. Give me just a sec. Isaac got jokes. Isaac says today's slate was built for CJ because it's thick with 2 C's. And those 2 C's stand for CJ Curry. That's right. Milk Maggot, what a name, first and foremost. I won big last night from watching your show for the first time. Thank you. Well, thank you for watching. Hopefully you slapped a like. Hopefully you subscribed. So far, though, as far as the Q&A portion goes, Steven Adams over 4 first half points, looking like a good way to go. Jarrell saying he's liking some Jakob Poeltl over rebounds. OKC allowing the second most rebounds to big men. All right, let's take a look at it. My man Jakob Poeltl, he's been getting on the glass here lately. Been kind of hit or miss, though. Been kind of hit or miss over the last 5 games. I wish he was a little bit more solid, a little bit more consistent. But maybe the matchup is what we need here for Jakob Poeltl. You look at the last 5 games for him, he's gone over 9.5 rebounds in 3 out of 5, 10, 11, and 11, respectively. So a 60% hit rate. Now, you're saying that you really like the matchup here for Poeltl against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last 7 games, Oklahoma City giving up 18 rebounds per game to the center spot. That is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th most. And they're one of only 8 teams giving up 18 or more rebounds. So definitely some upside here. For a guy who needs 10, they're giving up 18 to centers. I think there's definitely a path here for Jakob Poeltl to get the job done. Let's go ahead and take a look at his rebounds. Jakob Poeltl rebounds versus Thunder logs. All right, so he's played the Thunder in 1 previous game this season. He played 26 minutes. That was January 19th. Pulled in just 8 boards. Did not have enough juice to get the job done. So he fell short against the Thunder. And that was recently. That was, well, about a month ago. Let's just take a look here. Okay, maybe the blowout had a factor or played a factor. It was 118 for the Spurs, 96 for the Thunder. Poeltl had 26 minutes of game time. Let's take a look and see how his minutes have looked here recently. Is he still getting about 26 or is his minutes up? So his minutes are up here in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. He's seeing more minutes, more than 26 minutes in most of those games. So, yeah, hopefully Poeltl gets a little bit more run than 26 minutes, but the matchup is definitely looking like a good one. As far as a projection for him, I got him projected for exactly 9.5 rebounds. We are seeing him at 9.5 on every site out there. And the public is betting the over on at least 2 out of those 3 sites. Minus 135 to go over. So I don't hate it. I can see what you see on that one. My man David, back again with a super chat. He's liking Clint Capella versus my boys. And what he means by that is my Orlando Magic. He wants to go back to Clint Capella versus the Orlando Magic. He says he hates to do it, but these fine people, but I have to do it to show these fine people, rather. Capella's first half fantasy points versus WCJR. That is Wendell Carter Jr. For those of you who do not know who he's referencing. So he wants to go Clint Capella first half fantasy points. First half fantasy points for Capella. Been pretty good here lately. He got the job done yesterday, I think it was, against Cleveland, right? I think he was at 15 first half fantasy points. You can kind of see why David is liking some Clint Capella for first half fantasy points. 5 for 5, 16.6, 23.1, 19.4, 16.4, 16.5. And now he gets to go up against the Orlando Magic. So let's take a look at the matchup real quick. Orlando, fantasy points allowed to centers, over 62.2 per game in the last 7 games. That is the 6th most. So yes, the matchup is good. By the way, everybody that was on those Clint Capella 12.5 rebounds, told y'all, man. There was too many of y'all talking about it. Too many of you guys talking about him and Luka Doncic points. Just felt kind of weird that so many people were on those two picks. Clint Capella over 12.5 rebounds. Luka Doncic over points yesterday. Just felt kind of funny to me for some reason. I tried to warn y'all. Sounds like too many of y'all are on this pick. So hopefully you dug a little deeper and you decided not to go with it, or you decided to go under. But anyway, that was yesterday. Clint Capella in a really good spot here against the Orlando Magic. He's been covering 15 first half fantasy points as well. Just for another point of reference, I've got Clint Capella projected for 32.5 full game fantasy points. Full game fantasy points. So he's at 30 on PrizePicks. So they like him to go over, does Fantasy Lab. So yeah, David, I think I might have to go back with you. Maybe I'll just do a game stack and put him with my man Wendell Carter Jr. Who knows? Who knows? We'll get weird later. We'll get weird later in Discord. Anyway, that one's looking like a good one. Thank you for dropping the super chat. Appreciate it. Again, never expect those, but I always appreciate them whenever you do. Busy Brown saying he likes the Jakob Poeltl rebounds as well. All right. Here's an interesting play. Somebody's mentioning Seth Curry points versus the Knicks. Seth Curry made his debut against Sacramento as a member of the Brooklyn Nets. We already know that Kyrie Irving will be out. Kevin Durant will be out. Ben Simmons ain't ready to go yet. So it's going to be Seth Curry and Patty Mills getting all the shots that they could possibly handle in this backcourt. So Ariel is leaving Seth Curry for us to take a look at. New York Knicks, kind of a tough team defensively. They do play at a slower pace. Those are just some concerns of mine. But he'll likely be up against Kemba Walker or Quentin Grimes. Guys that I'm not really afraid of. So he had 23 against Sacramento in his Brooklyn Nets debut. Looking at the matchup here, we'll call him the shooting guard. We'll call Patty Mills the point guard. New York giving up over 25 points per game to opposing shooting guards. That is the fourth most. So we know Seth Curry should be in line for plenty of opportunities to shoot the ball. So I don't mind Seth Curry versus the Knicks. Let's get you a projection. I've got Mr. Seth at 16, projected 16 points, which is exactly where he's at on PrizePicks. We are seeing his line as high as 16.5 on some sites, and they are betting the under at 16.5, but they're betting the over at 15.5. So PrizePicks taking sort of the middle ground here and going with 16 on Seth. But I like the matchup, and I like the fact that he should get lots of usage, lots of shots up, being one of the key guys in the backcourt. So Ariel, I'm with you on that. Mitchell's asking about some Josh Giddey rebounds or Bazley PRA. I don't like Darius Bazley. I know he's stepped into a much larger role with all the injuries. I think Giddey will be the one that I talk about. I'll take the Giddey rebounds. Let's look at those. Forget you, Darius Bazley. I ain't putting my money on no Darius Bazley. Josh Giddey, though, he's at 8 rebounds. Last 5 games for him, 11, 9, 7, 12, and 11, respectively. He's going up against the San Antonio Spurs tonight. We talked about all the key guys that are out for OKC, SGA, Lou Dort. Josh Giddey's been running the show, man. He has been that dude for the Thunder here lately. So doing a little bit of everything. Scoring, rebounding, dropping dimes. Swiss Army knife. So, yeah, Giddey's looking like a pretty good play here with all those things considered. Kind of call Giddey the point guard, right? He's kind of operating as the floor general, as the primary ball handler for the Thunder. He's going up against the Spurs tonight. We got to go down a little ways here. Spurs giving up about 6 rebounds per game to opposing point guards. You can see where that puts them. Right in the middle of the pack. Not overly easy. It's actually a little bit more on the difficult side, we'll say, for Josh Giddey. Let's go get you a projection, though. Let's see what the action projections think about Giddey today. They got him at 7.8 rebounds, which is slightly less than the 8, but closer to 8 than it is 7. So maybe he ends up in a push situation. We're seeing him at 7.5 boards on 3 different books. Strong action coming at -135, -150, -155 to go over. 7.5 rebounds. So PrizePicks bumped him up to 8 for good reason. Chris is liking some Julius Randle. Listen, this guy, we have forgiven him. And I think, you could feel a little bit better about some Julius Randle here lately, being that he's been playing very good. Very good here. I don't know what happened with Julius Randle, but for a period of time there, man, this guy just looked disinterested. He did not look engaged. He did not look focused. But I think he has found the focus. I think Julius Randle is back, hopefully. Hopefully he's back. Hopefully this isn't just a phase for him. Hopefully we get to see this Julius Randle, because this is the Julius Randle that I came to know and love. Guy that can do it all, right? Hit threes, grab rebounds, score points, drop dimes. Like, Julius Randle has all the talent in the world. It just didn't seem like he was engaged or focused. But like I said, last few games, a much different man. 41, 44, 51, 50, and 53 PRA in the last few games. He's going up against Brooklyn tonight. We know Brooklyn, they're pretty thin right now. They're missing a lot of key components. Andre Drummond is there, though. But I think he'll probably be matched up with Mitchell Robinson, leaving Julius Randle to feast on Kessler Edwards. Is that who's going to be starting at power forward? Anyway, Brooklyn giving up about 19 points, about 8.5 boards. So that's like 27.5 PRA, sprinkling about 5 assists on top of that. That's like 32.5 PRA. So it's going to be kind of tough on paper. Brooklyn, last 7 games, pretty tough. Not the easiest matchup. Let's pull a projection up for Mr. Julius Randle here. They have him going slightly under at 40.1 points plus rebounds plus assists. At 41.5, one site, I'm seeing action on the over. So, I don't know, man. It's just not looking good on paper. Could he get it done? Yeah, I mean, he could absolutely smash, especially if he doesn't draw Andre Drummond on defense. If he gets somebody else other than Drummond, I feel even better about it. But yeah, we just need Julius Randle to apply himself. Let's try to get through some more of these real quick. About an hour and 22 in. Probably got about 10 more minutes, give or take. And then I will let you guys get out of here. Appreciate everybody, though, who's dropping these picks, these props, these questions. Let's just try to buzz through as many as we can. Again, don't let this be the end of your research. This is meant to be sort of a first look and overview. And then you guys can take some of these picks out of this stream and do a little bit more digging on them and decide which way you want to go, over or under on them, right? So Cole Anthony at 6 assists. We're going to try to do a lightning round here. I'm just going to go through the projections real quick. Got him projected for 5.5. We're seeing him at 6.5 out on 3 different books. The public smashing the under, minus 140 at 6.5. So that's why we're getting him at 6 here. So I don't know which way you wanted to go, T-Money, on Cole Anthony's assist. I'm assuming you wanted to go under, being that he's only covered this in 1 out of 5. But Jalen Suggs being back has really, I think, impacted Cole Anthony here lately in terms of dimes. Chris C is mentioning Keldon Johnson PRA at 24.5. I would say that in recent days, Keldon Johnson's been a pretty good look. I'm seeing him at 23.5 on PrizePicks. 23.5 on PrizePicks, unless it got bumped up and I need to refresh again. Anyway, I got Keldon Johnson, 23.5 PRA. He's a betting favorite to go over, minus 130. So the public likes it. The projections have him at 24.2. Back-to-back games, though, where he struggled. So maybe this could be a spot for him to get right. Let's get right. Let's get right. Chris is leaving another one. He's liking some Pascal Siakam points. Just do a quick look at Siakam. I think Siakam sold some people up the river last time he took the floor. Had 18 against New Orleans. Had been playing very good previous to that game, though. Previously, prior to the New Orleans Pelicans game, 24, 27, 30, and 35. So maybe Siakam picks up where he left off prior to the Pelicans game, and he gets back on track tonight against Minnesota. The game has a really high total. think it's going to stay close from what I remember, but let's get you a projection here on Pascal Siakam. 24.7. So they like him to go over, but the public does not believe in Pascal Siakam. They're taking the under, minus 125 to go under 23.5. Likely matched up against Karl Anthony Towns tonight. Maybe that's why they're not big believers in Siakam. Bankroll read, Donovan Mitchell, PRA, and points. I will just take a look at both real quick for you. Donovan Mitchell's points are at 25.5. His PRA is at 35.5. So I got Mitchell projected for 27.7 points, so 2.2 higher on his projection than where he's at on PrizePicks. He's even as high as 26.5 on at least one book out there, so maybe the 25.5 is a little too light. We're getting a lower number on PrizePicks than we are at least versus like PointsBet, another sportsbook betting site. And then you asked about his PRA, right? His PRA is at 35.5. I got him at 37.5. So for me, being that I saw at least 1 point of value when compared to one other book, I'd probably be more on his points than I would be his points, rebounds, and assists, if that makes sense. What else we got? McDermott over 12.5 points. Jojo Rabbit liking some Doug McDermott. Dougie McBuckets, 12.5 points. He had himself a pretty good game in the last one against his former team, the Chicago Bulls. But yeah, McDermott's been scoring the basketball really well here. 4 out of the last 5 games, 80% hit rate at 12.5. His first half points also been very good. So you could also take Doug McDermott in a first half only play if you wanted to. I do have him projected to go over at 14.7 points. Plus, we're seeing his line as high as 13.5 points. So we're getting a little bit of an easier time here on PrizePicks at just 12.5. Now, 12.5, the public, they agree with you. They are taking the over on Doug McDermott on 3 out of 4 sites at 12.5 points. Betting favorite to go over. So JoJo, you can feel okay about McDermott, but definitely check into his first half points as well. T-Money, also liking some Wendell Carter points. My man Wendell Carter has been really good here lately, especially this season. So Wendell Carter Jr. going up against Atlanta. He's at 15.5 points. Atlanta, not the scariest matchup when it comes to centers. I do have him projected for 15.3, so that's a little bit less than the 15.5. For me, Wendell Carter Jr. has been more of a fantasy points play than just a pure points or rebounds play because he's been doing a little bit of everything. Scoring, rebounding, assisting. He finds a way to block a shot, get a steal. I mean, he's just very active. Very good player. It's no secret. I'm a big Wendell Carter Jr. stan. So he'd probably be more of a fantasy point play than a pure point play for me. RB Powell saying Wiggins, Andrew Wiggins' PRA is looking nice tonight. Oh, Andrew, the all-star Wiggins. I still can't believe he's an all-star, gang. I still can't believe it. Can you? He's at 21.5 PRA. You're liking this play because of the matchup, I guess? Maybe? I don't know. He's only covered 21.5 PRA in 2 out of 5, so 40% hit rate for Wiggins. I got Andrew Wiggins, unless you're talking about Aaron Wiggins. You might be talking about Aaron Wiggins. There are 2 Wiggins playing tonight. But anyway, Andrew Wiggins, 21.5 PRA is a light line. He's at 22.5 on 2 other books, but I have him projected for 26.7. We don't have Aaron Wiggins up on PrizePicks, so I'm assuming it's Andrew Wiggins you're after. Let's see. What else you got here? What else we got? Randall rebounds or Robinson rebounds. Sam W's asking about Randall and Mitch Robinson. So we got Randall at 10.5. Robinson's at 10.5. So they're both at 10.5. So same prop line for both of these guys. I got Randall projected for 11.1. He is a betting favorite at 10.5 to go over. And then I've got Robinson projected for 10.6. So they like Randall's rebounds more. And then the betting public at 10.5 rebounds for Mitchell Robinson, they're taking the under. So we're seeing the public more on Julius Randle and the over at 10.5. And we're seeing projections that favor Randle over Robinson. Busy Brown, we don't know if Ja Morant's playing or not just yet. I don't think we know. We've already talked Will Barton for PRA. Mr. Isaac, you saying you're liking that? Rick Gill says he's great advice, and he's saying thanks. You're welcome. You're welcome. We talked about De'Aaron Fox points already. Those look pretty good. LCS, listen, I'm off of Mo Bamba, man. I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on Mo Bamba, but I think he played like 11 minutes last game. I mean, he's like starting to really fall out of the rotation for the Orlando Magic. So I don't think I want to go to Mo Bamba. Definitely not. Not for me. They changed Raul Neto's guaranteed projection of 4.5 assists for the under. They changed it, huh? Dang. Gotta have like the auto refresh button here. Yeah, he's down to 4. I blame Dave Gutierrez in his super chat for that. Just kidding, Dave. Good call out. Just scrolling through, seeing if anything else catches my eye. Marcus Smart, doubtful tonight. LCS, Anthony Simons points. I mean, Anthony Simons has been in play ever since all the trades that Portland made. But yeah, we have not talked any Anthony Simons just yet. So he's probably going to be worth talking about. He's at 21.5 points. He's going up against Memphis tonight. 3 straight games, 29, 30, and 31. Dude's been balling. Kid's been balling. Going up against Memphis. Not really afraid of Memphis. We kind of saw what CJ McCollum was able to do against Memphis last night. So Simons, not that I'm saying he's on the CJ McCollum level or anything, but similar kind of player, combo guard, I guess you could say, right? Memphis, as far as points given up to the point guard position, they're giving up about 22, which does, look like a more difficult matchup on paper, but not one that I'm overly concerned about for any reason. But anyway, I got Simons projected for 20 points, but he is as high as 22.5 on at least one other site on FanDuel Sportsbook. So we're getting a good number here at 21.5 versus a site like FanDuel. So a little bit of value. China Red 912, shout out to you. Longtime supporter of what I've been doing. Thank you so much for always being an active member of the community. China. She's liking some Isaiah Stewart. Beef Stews rebounds. Robert Williams is ruled out, so she's wanting to basically attack that spot, huh? All right. Stewart's at 8.5. He's going up against Boston, a Boston team that is without Robert Williams. So you can see what Beef Stew's been doing. 12, 15, 12, and 9 over the last 5 games. He's gone 4 for 5. Looking at this matchup, Stewart, obviously the center. A little bit concerned because Marvin Bagley is in the mix now for Detroit. So a little bit concerned about that, but you can see what Boston's been doing. They're giving up the 5th most rebounds per game, and most of those games were with Robert Williams. Obviously, if he's ruled out, it'll be Al Horford probably sliding to center, Grant Williams in the power forward spot, and then Tatum at the small forward position. But anyway, yeah, plus matchup here for Isaiah Stewart. Let's go get you a projection. Got him projected for 9.5 boards at 8.5 rebounds, though. The public not loving Isaiah Stewart as much. Minus 120 and minus 125 to get under, to go under. But I ain't mad at it. I mean, the matchup is about as good as you can ask for. David Reeves, I did briefly talk about some Tyrese Halliburton and how much he's been balling. It's a wait and see for me. Got to see if Malcolm Brogdon's in or out. Brogdon being in would obviously impact Halliburton quite a bit. Mitchell, you're mentioning Julius Randle's assist. We talked about it for PRA. I think he's going to have some assists to take the PRA or hit his PRA number rather. Trevor, we have not talked much about Tatum or Brown. Tatum's rebounds last night with Robert Williams out at 7.5 boards was just too low. You could probably still go back to this at 8.5 rebounds. I am a little bit worried about the blowout potential in this game. But you can see what Jason Tatum's capable of. Last night without Robert Williams, he pulled in 12 boards against Philadelphia. So 8.5 may not even be high enough. He was at 7.5 last night and crushed it. Yeah, Giddey's in play for everything as long as Dort and SGA continue to sit, and then you factor in all the other issues that the Oklahoma City Thunder lineup is having, and Giddey's always going to be in play. All right, gang, I'm going to get out of here, man. Hour and 36 minutes in. I'm running out of gas. I got to go get some lunch. Just be honest with you. Got to go get some Chick-fil-A to fuel up for this thick NBA slate. Exactly, Isaac. See, me and you are on the same page. It's lunchtime, brother. I got to go get that Chick-fil-A. Anyway, I'm going to get up out of here. Good luck tonight, gang. We've got today's NBA slate, and then we got tomorrow's NBA slate, and then we're on an NBA break for a little while. So I'm not quite sure as far as content goes what you can expect out of me during the NBA All-Star break, but, I'm sure you'll see me around. Anyways, good luck tonight on your entries. 11 games. Make sure you do your homework. Dig into these player props more. And if you're in Patreon and Discord, I'll see you over there, and we'll chop it up some more, okay? Good night. Good afternoon. Good morning.